learners, welcome back to another session of your MOOCs course, that is Internet of Things, Design Concepts and Use Cases. In today's video, we are going to talk about interfacing LCD board through I2C module with Arduino board. And for this, we are going to use three different things. One will be your Arduino board, one will be your I2C module, and one more thing we have is your LCD board. And for this session, we are going to use 16x2 LCD board. So, let me first of all introduce you to the some parts of your LCD board. As you can see on the screen, this is the normal pin diagram of your LCD board. On this, you have several pins, including ground pin, VCC pin and some contrast control pins, along with register select, read write pins and enable pins. Other than this, we have several data lines on this board, and ultimately there are LED 5 volt and LED ground pins. In general, when you have a LCD board with you, you need to make all these connections with your Arduino board. And along with this pin diagram, here you can see a circuit diagram that shows you the connection of LCD board with Arduino board. Now, what may be a common issue for a beginner with this particular hardware setup? There are so many pins that you need to connect. It includes 4 data lines along with enable pin, VCC, ground and read write pins. Other than this, you also need to interface a potentiometer to your LCD board for further contrast control on your system. While connecting all these wires, your system may become very complex. At the same time, it is going to consume several pins in your Arduino board. It means if you have to interface multiple sensors with your LCD and Arduino board, several pins will be already occupied with the LCD board and you will have lesser number of pins available for other sensors to connect. In order to solve this problem, what we can do is, instead of using this direct interfacing on your system, you can proceed ahead with a I2C module. In this I2C module, we have extension connections that help you to connect your LCD board directly with your Arduino by using only 4 pins. So, instead of using all these connections that we had in the previous diagram, now you need to use only 4 pins. And how it works basically? Because it makes use of a I2C bus over here, which communicates directly through serial communication lines. So, the chip itself, this I2C board that we are going to interface as an intermediator between your LCD board and Arduino board, consists of 2 pins that includes serial clock line and serial data line. Along with this, we have 2 more pins, that is ground and VCC. So, now you are left with only 4 connections. So, this is very easy interface for you to connect your any LCD board. This same chip you can utilize even for connecting a 20x2 LCD or 20x4 LCD as well. But in today's session, we are going to work on a 16x2 LCD board, which is one of the basic version of LCD that you can utilize for any of your experiments, along with this I2C board, and ultimately we are going to make connections with your favorite Arduino Uno board. For this, we have these 4 lines. The ground pin of your I2C board, we are going to connect with Arduino pin, ground number. Along with this, the VCC pin of your I2C board will be directly connected to 5 volt of Arduino board. After this, we have SDA and SCL line. If you have revised your previous session of Introduction to Arduino, you might have seen that on the pin description, we already have SCL and SDA pins by the end of your digital port. So, definitely you can utilize those pins also as your SDA or SCL connection. But along with this, you might have seen the description that even these two pins from your analog port, they can be utilized for making your serial data line and serial clock line connections. So, currently in this particular experiment, I am going to use these analog pins as my serial data line and serial clock line. So, now you have understood the simple connection interface on your screen. Now, let us switch to the hardware part to understand what we are going to connect through these elements available on us. First of all, we have the Arduino board. This one you might be already aware of now. Along with this, we are going to utilize this 16x2 LCD, and you can see on this LCD board we have here the female connectors through which we can use some male wires to make connection with your board further, and this is your I2c board. This particular board has a potentiometer on it along with a IC, which makes your interface as well as contrast control easier. It means the one contrast control register that you otherwise had to connect separately with your this LCD board, now you can use that directly on this chip, and you can adjust this particular potentiometer to enhance the contrast on this particular LCD board. So, now let us make connections. What you have here basically, first of all we have our VCC pin, then ground pin, SDA pin and then SCL pin. So, as per the circuit diagram that we have already seen, let us make your connections now. So, first of all I need to insert this particular chip into this particular interface to make it a single board that will become your I2c based LCD board. So, this is a single chip now, and we are ready to interface it further on this board. So, first of all I need to pick the ground wire, and this same wire I will be inserting on any of the ground terminals available either on the power board or on the end of your digital port. So, let me pick your ground terminal from here. Next to this we have our VCC terminal. With this red wire I have connected it here. So, we are just going to take it and insert it in your 5 volt over here. Next to this we have your SDA line, which as per your circuit diagram we have to connect to A4 pin on your analog port, and after this we have SCL line, which will be connected to A5 line of your analog port over here. So, these are your connections for interfacing LCD board with your Arduino board, and now we need to understand the coding part for this particular interface. So, let us switch to the software part now. As you already know, we have for this your IDE software. So, here I have the program for you all. What we have in this particular program? For this particular program, first of all you need to include a library that will be your liquid crystal I2c library. This will be useful to interface this dual chip with your Arduino board. In case if you are not utilizing this particular board and you are making all the direct connections as I have shown you in the firstmost circuit diagram, in that case you will not utilize this liquid crystal I2c library, rather you will utilize direct liquid crystal library only. So, in our case, since we have combined these chips, we will be utilizing both the libraries together. Next to this, here we have liquid crystal I2c LCD interface address. Now, this is an interesting part. First of all, here 16, 2 represent your number of columns and number of rows available on the LCD board. And other than this, this one is the address of your I2C board. Now, how you get this particular address? For this, you may need a wire library, and with the help of a wire library on your Arduino IDE software, you can scan through I2C address of any particular chip, whether it is I2C board of your LCD or it is any other sensor that works through serial clock and serial data lines. So, that will be another part we have to discuss throughout this session. First of all, let me describe this particular code to you. So, this particular address we have for the chip so that your Arduino board can communicate with I2C board through this address, which is hex address, and it will directly make connection of your LCD board. Next to this, now we come to the void setup part. As you already know, this setup part we utilize to make some initializations as well as to make initial declarations for your setup part. All the codes that are to be utilized only once, they are placed in the setup section. So, for this, first of all, I am initializing my LCD board, then I am simply using a clear screen option over here, and after that I am just making sure that backlit on this particular LCD board is on. So, these three codes can be a optional set of codes, because generally you can interface your LCD directly with a new code, but if there is some problem with the interface and you are getting some garbage values, make sure you clear your LCD using LCD clear and then you turn on the backlight again. Next to this, I am just setting the cursor of my LCD board on 00 position. So, what is this 00 position now? As we have seen on the top of this code, we have represented it with 16 cross 2, where 16 is the number of columns you will have on your LCD chip, as well as 2 represent number of rows. So, now based on this only, I am going to set my cursor over here. So, this 00 basically represent 0 means first column of your LCD as well as first row of LCD. So, at this present time, I am setting my cursor at first most position on your LCD board. Next to this, I am just printing a simple sequence of words over here. First of all, hello world, that will be the first most program you are going to interface with LCD board. Along with this, I am shifting cursor on the second row, which is represented by this 1. So, this represents second row and 0th column, that will be the first most column of your second row. And on this particular place, I am just going to write LCD I2c. So, these two things we will be printing directly on your LCD chip. And you can see I have placed nothing in the loop part, since this will be one time execution command and it will stay as it is on your LCD board without doing any looping task. So, now first of all, how you have to get this particular address? That will be with wire library. In order to do this, let me show you another code over here. This is, you search about I2C address. It includes a wire library, and you can also find this library in the example section. So, if I scroll down through the example section, here you have your wire library, and when you install this particular library based on the previous session, you can do that installation from manage library option. And once this library is available, then you can see this I2c scanner over here. You can utilize this inbuilt code as well to scan address of your I2c chip. Currently, I am utilizing this existing code over here, within which we are going to scan your I2c address directly, and the output we will be printing on the serial monitor. So, it will simply scan through the digital address as well as, that will be your decimal address as well as the hex address, and print both of them on your serial monitor, from where you can just pick your serial address of this hex value and you can put that in your other code. So, let me connect your hardware first of all, so that we can interface this scanning code first of all to your hardware part. So, just taking my wire to the USB terminal over here, and within this we are just going to create the interface. So, I have to just check the ports over here. So, it is COM8 right now, and just I have to send this particular address. Make sure you scan this address only after connecting your I2c board, because then only it will be able to scan through. We are just compiling your sketch and then uploading it on the board. As soon as it is ready, we can open your serial monitor, and on the serial monitor, first of all we need to make sure that we have selected right baud rate. So, here you can see 9600 is the baud rate. So, the same baud rate I have to choose over here. We can go on the drop down menu here, and I have to choose 9600 as your baud rate. And here you can see it found address, which is 0x27 as hex address. So, the same address I am using in the other code, which is for the interface purpose. So, let us close this one now, and we can close the I2c address scanning code as well, and we are back to the original code that we are going to utilize for the interfacing. So, let me just send your code from here, and it will be soon transferred to your LCD board, and soon after that we can see the outputs on the board itself. So, it says done uploading, and here on the screen now you can see the exact sequence that we have sent through your code, which includes hello world and I2c LCD interface details. One more thing before closing this experiment: whenever you are interfacing or sending information on this board, sometime your display is not directly visible as such we have here. In that case, a simple thing you have to try: just adjust the contrast of your board from this particular potentiometer. You can use a screwdriver for this purpose and simply rotate it so that your contrast is clear and this particular information or whatever you are sending on your LCD board is clearly visible. So, this simple setting you can do if your board is not displaying anything. So, this is all about our experiment to interface your LCD board with I2C terminal and Arduino board. I hope you have got the idea, and now you must be ready for new experiments where we will be interfacing different types of sensors and we will be sending details on LCD board as well as on the serial monitor. So, thank you very much for watching this video, and you will get the relevant e-content for this interface through your channel as well. Thank you very much.